In this lesson, we are going to learn about stress, different types of stressors, and how to manage them so they don't interfere with our ability to live the life we want to live. Stress is everywhere in our lives. Work, kids, laundry, bills, and a seemingly endless list of things to do. When it goes unchecked, it lingers and negatively affects both our physical and mental health. We are going to look at several different types of stress and how they affect your ability to change and live a life of peace and serenity. When we hear the word stress, many of us immediately think of how bad it feels. Just thinking about it will cause our muscles to tighten up, while at the same time making us feel like we're going to explode into a million tiny pieces. This type of stress is called distress and has a negative impact on our mind and body, causing physical disease and mental illness such as depression and anxiety. We're all aware of how being stressed out feels, but most people are not aware of the different types of stress and how they impact us. We are all familiar with everyday stressors. These are the hassles in life that happen every day and are usually short-term or acute. They are not life-threatening and include things like paying your bills on time so you don't get late fees and have your utilities shut off, tolerating difficult coworkers, getting stuck in traffic, nosy and noisy neighbors, pushy in-laws, and sassy teenagers, to name a few. These are common experiences that elicit understanding and support from others when we can acknowledge them and discuss them with people who have had similar experiences. When we don't acknowledge everyday stress, it can build up and become chronic or long-term stress and can have severe consequences on both our physical and mental health. Trauma is an emotional response to an event or series of events where someone's physical or emotional safety is threatened. Some examples of trauma would be witnessing or being the target of violence, being the victim of verbal abuse or physical assault, or being struck by a natural disaster. Traumatic stress is the response to trauma. If you have a history of trauma, it's very important you seek professional help with someone who is trained to work with trauma. If you try to work through it on your own or with a friend, you may become overwhelmed by the memories and re-traumatize yourself. Toxic stress occurs when we experience repeated and ongoing trauma. Some examples of toxic stress include chronic abuse or neglect, violence, addiction, or mental illness. Growing up homeless, in a war zone, extreme poverty, or in a community where there is violence has been shown to have a significant effect on children's mental and emotional development. Social discrimination based on the color of our skin, past history, or other factors largely outside of our control creates high levels of both chronic and acute stress. Being denied housing, a job, or being rejected by others for these reasons is acutely painful in the moment, and repeated discrimination will lead to chronic and toxic stress, racism, and marginalization. Others' negative behaviors towards us impact the thoughts and feelings we have about who we are, which in turn can negatively impact what we believe about ourselves. The shitty thing about social discrimination is that it's often very subtle, almost imperceptible, leaving the victim confused, thinking there is something wrong with them, believing they are always being judged by others and coming up short. This can leave a person feeling like a cat on a hot tin roof. Not good for anyone, no matter how you look at it. We can be socially discriminated against for many things, and I experienced one of them with my addiction. After I had been sober for a few months and the fog began to lift, I started to notice that people treated me differently based on the fact that I used to have an alcohol use disorder. I couldn't define it when I was actively drinking, but when I got sober, it was as real as the sun shining down on my skin. It made me hypervigilant because I began to believe that the other people were just waiting for me to do something wrong that would wind me up back in jail, even though I was working a good and honest program for my own recovery. I simply could not imagine why anyone would treat me differently than anyone else, so I figured there was something really messed up with me that others could see but I could not. For many years I kept myself from becoming who I wanted to be for fear I wouldn't make the grade, and figured, why even try? It kept me drunk, and it kept me bound in fear for a while in sobriety because I didn't think I could do it. This is what makes it so difficult to get into long-term recovery. Not all stress is bad, however. The fact is that we need a certain amount of stress in our lives to feel like we have purpose and give us the motivation to grow and change. The stress that energizes and motivates us to make positive changes is called eustress. This type of stress gives us the determination to find positive solutions that help us overcome obstacles in our lives. An example would be the motivation to find a new and better job because we feel like we are stuck in a dead end with the one that we have. Sometimes we are so firmly rooted in our own stress that we are largely unaware of how it is affecting us. We have lived with it so long that we become accustomed to the feeling, and being in distress becomes our new normal. Even though we may feel okay, the physical, emotional, and cognitive challenges will persist, which we will often try to deny as well. What we may not realize is that our headaches, indigestion, general restlessness, procrastination, or the uncanny ability to get in an argument at any given moment are actually symptoms of acute stress. These symptoms can be easy to ignore, even easier to blame on others, or as in the case of physical ailments, blame them on our genetic constitution. For instance, it would not be uncommon to get a headache and upset stomach, become irritable, and have trouble sleeping after an argument with your significant other. A simple way to see if you are stressed is to apply pressure to your jaw with your fingers. If the muscles are tight and the area is a bit sensitive to you pushing on it, you are likely stressed. The following are some tricks and tips to help you manage your response to stress. Resilience is the ability to recover from a negative experience and to learn how to protect yourself from future stressors. One of the most effective ways to build resilience is to have a strong social network. It can be anything from positive and supportive friends, a book club, or a more formal type of support group like AA or NA, or even mental health support groups. It also helps to be more optimistic, be able to laugh at life, have a sense of spirituality and gratitude, be able to appreciate yourself, and be flexible and open-minded with yourself and others. In other words, live and let live. We have all felt the stress of having too much to do and too little time to get it done. Fitting all of our responsibilities into the day can sometimes seem impossible and is a common stressor. Time management skills, such as using a to-do list or appointment book to prioritize the things you need to do, is helpful, but you have to remember to use them. I find it best to set aside time every Sunday morning before everyone gets up. It is quiet, and I am able to plan my week so I can break things down into smaller pieces that are easier for me to manage. This also helps to eliminate the stress that can be produced on a Friday afternoon when I realize that all of my procrastination has led me to forget something important and now it's too late to get it done. Breath work is a highly effective way to calm the body and the mind. Simply focusing on the breath will activate a series of chemical reactions that will calm us down. And when we manipulate or consciously alter the breath, we can actually change how we feel. One of the most effective breaths for reducing stress is 4-7-8 breathing. Research has shown that 4-7-8 breathing is as effective as Valium when we are feeling anxious and maybe even a bit out of control. Here's how you do it. For comfort, lie down on the floor or bed with pillows beneath your head and knees, or sit in a comfortable chair with your head, neck, and shoulders relaxed and your knees bent. You can also sit on the floor with your knees bent and ankles crossed with a straight and relaxed spine. Think head over heart and heart over hips. Push all the air out of your lungs, then inhale deeply through your nose for the count of 4. Hold the breath for the count of 7. Then, on the exhale, place the tip of your tongue on the roof of your mouth just behind your front teeth and exhale slowly with your lips pursed for the count of 8. Continue the breath at least 3 times or until you feel calm and relaxed. Keeping a positivity journal can help produce hope and optimism. Positive journaling involves writing about the good things that have happened during your day. This might take some thought because negative experience or things we think we screwed up are going to be easier to remember than the good things that happened during the day. If you look back over your journal, you will perhaps get a sense of gratitude or appreciation for these experiences. Take a few moments to hold the feelings of gratitude when you are done writing. One of the most stressful things we can do to ourselves is to hold on to resentments. This includes resentments we hold about ourselves as well as those we hold on to that involve others. Here's the deal. Everyone makes mistakes. Most of them are small, but once in a while, there's a doozy that seems unforgivable. Forgive them anyway. You will never be able to forgive yourself if you cannot forgive others for their mistakes, no matter how big they were. This doesn't mean that what happened was okay. It simply means that despite how terrible the experience was, you understand and accept that it happened and move on. You are only punishing yourself when you hold a grudge. Let it go. It's over. It happened. And hopefully it won't happen again. The question to ask yourself is what you can learn from the experience. This group has provided you with some information on stress and how to manage it. Next, you are going to take some time to complete a worksheet on exploring stress, followed by a just sit exercise.